everyone, and welcome back to Unpacked with me, Jan Sport. Everyone, I am so excited to unpack this Rusical episode with all of you. This is the Joan Crawford Rusical, and on the runway, we have a little Grace Jones. But let's get back to it and see the girls where they are. They're coming back into the workroom. Jimbo just won her third challenge, 1, 2, 3. So exciting for the girl, but she is a little upset. And you know what? Rightfully so. I do feel really bad for Jimbo. Not only did all of that shit with Heidi happen, not only does she now have a target on her back, but she is also feeling really insecure about herself because unfortunately she has won 3 challenges, but she's lost all 3 lip syncs. And that can really be, throttle your confidence. As somebody who's lost 3 lip syncs themselves, I am able to comment on that. And yes, I do have much less challenge wins, and I was already eliminated at this point. But yeah, I know how it feels. But you know what? I think the group is going to rebound. Candy is feeling like there's a little target on her back going into this episode, because she's like, girl, I don't know how, everything felt. She was not really happy with the whole Heidi situation. She was feeling as though her alliance was crumbling in front of her eyes. And honey, speaking of in front of my eyes, I have a little hair right here. I'm obsessed with mustard. Anyways, it's the next day in the workroom, and the girls notice that Joan Crawford is hanging all around the room, going, what's going on today? RuPaul walks into the room. Honey, it's a Joan Crawford Rusical, going through the life and times of Miss Joan. And I think that this is a great challenge. Not only does RuPaul literally love Joan Crawford, but this is like so theatrical. It's already built in. It's campy. And I think the girls are going to absolutely slay it. And we'll get into that. I mean, I was just rewatching the episode to see what the judges' critiques were. And Michelle literally was like, we have to decipher between the A+ and the A's. And I really felt that way about this challenge. So the girls get the packets and they're listening to the songs. And it's really funny because this is a moment that really can decide everything that happens for you in the episode. I was just talking to Alexis last week, obviously. If you didn't catch that episode, take a scroll back and she's going to be right there. There's a lot of tea that was spilled in that episode, by the way, so get into it. But she was telling me, she was like, I gave up the part that I wanted to because it was already being fought for. And truth be told, I really thought Alexis should have been in the top this week. We'll get to that later. But I think that she probably, I think whoever had that wire hanger role and choreography was going to be in the top just because it was built that way. Not to say that Candy doesn't deserve it and that she didn't absolutely bring a kick-ass job to the role. But that being said, I thought it was like one of those good ones where you're like, honey, this is going to be good for whoever gets it. And Jessica was also a queen who wanted this role as well. I mean, when you listen to No More Wire Hangers, is that a very expensive? What did she say? Am I overreacting? Yes, but that is an expensive dress. And I'm in this mess. Barbara, please. And then her literally doing the like calypsos with the things. She's like, that's everything. You can see why people wanted this role. So Jessica and Candy, and I guess Alexis too, all wanted to fight for this role, but only 2 made it to the final callbacks. Jessica and Candy. And I thought the editors did such a great job setting this moment up. I think auditioning in the workroom is so funny, especially because, and y'all, I really cannot stress this to you enough. That room is quiet. Imagine being in like a warehouse and there's no underscoring, there's nothing else going on. It's just a big, bright room. And they really create something out of nothing. So shout out to the editors. But just to know, like, the shoes are probably squeaking on the floor. The girls just learned this song maybe from 20 seconds from hearing it. Like, it's intense. And I thought that they both did a great job. I was very happy that Candy got this. Candy fully has an amazing voice, and I want to duet with the bitch. But I love Candy. I'm happy that she got that role. And I'm really happy with Jessica's role, too. Jessica obviously ended up being in the top as well, and I thought she did a great job, too. But the roles are all divvied out, and then everyone goes to see Leland, who is giving a Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Where Are You? And I think I'm going to go on the record and say this right now. Leland, I love you. You're my sister. You looked really, really hot. And I'm very happy for you, sweets. I'm very, very happy for you. You looked awesome. You looked great. And the songs, they're slapping. So the girls go and they are all working out their parts. And this is actually something that I really want to bring up. Let me talk about this process. Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to get right into it. I remember when I was on All Stars, we were literally learning, writing, and doing our show up queen verses. And I had to go first. And then whoever went second, whoever was after me, I think it was Pandora. We went first and second. And then we took a lunch break. And everybody had time to marinate in their roles and get everything, comfortable in their bodies. I don't know if anybody took a lunch break here, but I know that James was one of the first ones to go. And I felt really bad for James because when I saw the role and all of the choreography and the sets and stuff that went into it, I thought that the voice didn't necessarily match what was going on. She could have added more intensity. Granted, it's the same playing field. I think it was just shitty. I wish that, you can go back and you can kind of change and do the vocals when you're up on your feet and vocalizing everything. But honey, this is not a Broadway show. There's no workshop. There's no 29 hours. This is no equity. You are in there and you are doing the goddamn thing. And so I commend all the ladies for doing such a great job, learning those tracks very, very quickly, having to go on there. Adam Shankman is there doing choreography. It's a really intense time and it's a really intense day. But I think the thing that I really hated during Show Up Queen was I knew I was probably going home or I was going to be in the bottom because my verse didn't end up being anything that I wanted it to be. And I didn't have time to fix it. I didn't have time to change it. And I was the first one to go. So I felt like Coco Montrese in that moment. Yeah, I'm pissed off. I'm the first one up. Thank you, Detox. So yeah, that's a little backstage tea for all of you. But shout out to Leland for getting all the girls to a really great place. I thought it was fantastic. I also loved, it is amazing being a musical theater queen and seeing everybody who's not apt to musical theater doing this, getting in front of a microphone and recording. I think it's hilarious. And just to hear the girls really trying to hit the notes and everything like that, it's really cute. And I mean, I feel like a lot of things when you can try them at first, it can be very embarrassing because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do it. Singing is one of those things that it's not embarrassing. It's actually kind of cute. And so I was loving watching the girls struggle. Let me say that. But it was really, really great. I thought everyone did awesome. Including my mother, Alexis Michelle. Honey, the pitter patter of that song was difficult. And I thought that she nailed it. She did her lip trill. She did her, what was it? Ba-digga-da, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. A proper cup of coffee ooh, honey, my BFA is dusty. Let me shake her off. A proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee cup. Chew on those words, honey. I thought, that was very difficult. I think my mother should have been in the top. I've said it twice already in 8 minutes, and God damn it, I'll say it again. But now they go and do the choreography. And this is always where the tricks come out. This is where you really see what's going to happen with the girls. And the edit starts to really trickle in, okay? Candy worried at the beginning of the episode. I already got my eye on her. She might be winning this one. James, struggling a little bit with the choreography. You never, when you're hearing that, might not be great. Might not be good news for y'all. So I saw that. And I thought that they, again, this is some more tea too. I'm really getting into the tea with all of y'all. I've said this before, and I don't know, you know what? NDA, you stay. When you are doing the Rusical, and I don't know if this is what happened for them, but both times that I did a musical performance with choreography and vocals, we had the entire weekend to learn everything. So it seems like it's very, very short. And I know on other franchises, they truly only have a day or a night to learn everything. So take it with a grain of salt. I love these bangles, by the way. Take it with a grain of salt, but I thought that it all looked very cohesive. When you add the props, when you add the movement, when you add the this and the that, honey, that can't be done in 24 hours. It's just not possible. Especially if you're not used to being a musical theater girly, like some of us. But honey, that's what I say. I'm like, give us time to sew, too. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving the girls choreography and everything. Give us time to sew. Give us a weekend to sew. But I digress. Okay. We get back into the workroom. The girls are all getting ready. They're doing their best impersonations. Oh! Speaking of, bring me the ass! Bring me the ass! Was so funny from Jessica Wilde. Jessica Wilde is turning me out this season, and I love her. She is so charismatic. She is so funny. Again, so happy to have gotten gobsmacked by her in my lip sync and that she is on All Stars 8 doing the damn thing. But bring me the ass. Honey, she said, happy pride, okay? Bring me the ass. Don't fuck with me, fellas was thrown around. Everyone was doing their bits. And then I think Lala screams, precious! And I was like, oh my God, she's really taking this and running with it, bitch. I love a little chaos in the workroom, especially after last week's episode where there were a lot of high tensions. This one seemed like a lot of the girls were just very excited, but when you get into that moment, it is kind of do or die. You can be very worried. Excuse me. God. It can be very do or die because everyone's really bringing it. You've all had a lot of time to rehearse. Everyone's doing a great job, and you really have to see what happens on the day. And so I know that the girls were all happy and excited and they felt confident, but also, you know, you have to go out there and do the damn thing. And I thought that they killed it. When we get on the stage, RuPaul is walking out in this outfit. And I'm gonna say this to a lot of y'all out there who don't do drag but are commenting on Mother and her accessories. Let the bitch accessorize. She can let all of y'all know when it's too much. I thought on her it was styled to perfection. The sequins and the fucking dress was bodied down. I love all the accoutrements that she had everywhere. I didn't think it was too much. I thought it was just enough. So Mother, I'm there for ya. But yeah, let's get into the Rusical. So first up, we have Kahana Montrese. And she comes out here with all of the choreography in the world. And I literally wrote down in my notes, Kahana 8. I thought she did fantastic. I did not see the exact same things that the judges were seeing with the disconnect from the body and anything. I thought very hard to go out there and be the first one. This Joan Crawford, kind of like my Madonna, is different than the Joan Crawford that we really know. And I thought that she did a really great job of introducing us to that Joan Crawford and showing us where she came from. She looked hot as hell, like she has been all fucking season. Crimson Chin, I don't know her, I don't see her. Kahana, you fucking slated it in my eyes. And I was a little surprised that she was in the bottom, especially after the look too. But she ended up being in the bottom. And after a fabulous performance. And granted, every single performance that we're going to talk... Oh my God. Get out of here, you bang piece. Jesus. Every single performance I thought was really fantastic in this episode. And moving right along, the next person that we had up was James. Now, again, this is what I'm saying. The girls at the beginning ended up in the bottom. Granted, I was in the top of the Madonna Rusical and I started it. So I can't, you know... You never know. Here's my thing with James. I do think that James had a case to be like, I shouldn't be going home because Kahana's third time in the bottom. This is, I think, her first or her second. And she's been doing pretty well. And Kahana had a unanimous vote last week. So I do understand why James was a little gooped. However, oh my God, let me get this out of my fucking... Oh, God. I'm leaving all this in, by the way. I hope you all enjoy it. I do unfortunately think that James did not do as well as others in this challenge. I just thought that I loved the, like, mommy dearest, very subdued, but I didn't think that she punched some of the lines enough. And even when she was not punching the lines, she physically was bringing it to it. So shout out to you, James, for bringing what you could to that role, even after the fact that the vocals were already recorded. I think that if James went back, she might have seen that she could have punched it somewhere where she was punching her physicality with her choreography. And I just feel like that's unfortunate, and that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. But James did a fantastic job too. She looked like $1,000,000, and I thought that her partnership with in the choreography was great. I thought that she did a really, really good job. It just didn't connect as much as the other ones did, unfortunately. Moving on, we had Candy. Well done, mama. Well done. I lived for this. Candy gave us vocals, she gave us acting, she gave us choreography, she gave us props. To me, the Tony Award went to Candy Muse that night. Happy Tony's Week, everyone. I loved it. Again, we all, T.S. Madison said it best, Candy, what can't you do? And she's right. Candy fucking tore that up. She really let us have it. She punched where she needed to punch. She was soft where she needed to be soft, and she let it breathe, and it just moved beautifully. I felt so comfortable watching her, and I was smiling ear to ear because I thought that she just ate the challenge up. Again, I think it was probably the best part. But again, when you get the best part, that's just that's subjective. And two, getting it is one thing, but performing it well, that's a whole other ballgame. And Candy delivered. So shout out to you, Candy. Congratulations on your win. All right, next up, we have Jessica Wilde, our rocker chick. I love that this rocker chick vibe for Jessica has been a through line throughout her entire decade-long career with Drag Race. And I love that we are seeing the patterns return. I thought she did a great job. I loved her hair. I loved the dress. And I thought that she did a really great job of just like letting loose. Letting loose as a rocker chick, but also delivering those moments where it needed to be really intense. When it started off, I didn't really know where it was going, but towards the end of it, I was like, you better fucking work, Jessica. I think she like hits the floor at one point and was like, ha, and it was just like up in the camera, like, oh. And I was really, really impressed with her. And the choreography too, she was giving us a battement. It was above the waist. I can't do that, so honey, good for you. She gave us a nice little kick. She kept up with the choreography. She did great. I had a great time performing. I had a great time watching it. I said, oh, the axe prop was gaggy. The swings were fantastic. I thought that she did a great job with a really big prop, and that can go south really quickly. Something that you didn't know, this is a little backstage tea, is that was a real axe. So if anybody got chopped with that, it would have been an immediate death. So I'm very happy for Jessica for handling her props really well. And it is Pride Month, handle your axes responsibly. Okay, next up we have, girl, and I'm gonna need this bang piece to really get it together. Okay, next up we have La La Ree. I loved this number. I thought it was perfectly suited for Lala. I thought that this role was hers boots. She did a great job. I thought it was nice, subdued, and focused, and she let the slaps really speak for themselves, just like the... I loved it. I love Lala in this victory roll moment too, with that baby doll dress. She looked fantastic, and she gave everything that it needed to give, and I loved it. Really, everyone brought it to this performance, like in such a major way. Lala looked beautiful. Again, the hair was fabulous, and her mug, she just gave it where she needed to give it, and I was very impressed with her. Honey, I love the Lala Ree experience. She can really dance too, and even though her choreography wasn't like anything really crazy, to be able to hit it and to serve it confidently is very difficult. And you know what is, I think when it comes to watching the show and seeing, a bunch of different takes from it, maybe there was a take where Kahana and James were disconnecting from the choreography to their face. I didn't see that personally, but you get to see it twice when you're there for the judges, and I understand that that is a part of it that we all don't get to see, but what I saw for Lala was just complete connection, body and soul. She was so in the role, and I was very happy for her. Okay, next up we have my mother, Alexis. This ain't her first rodeo, and honey, I thought that she ate it. I really, really was so gagged that she was not in the top. She got this episode. Let me tell you this. For her to just be safe, not only with the performance, keeping up with the choreography, having a lot of fun, she looked the part better than anybody. She looked so fucking good. And it was giving me Joan down. Then, we're not even going to talk about the runway, because the runway to me was that my favorite one? I think it was my favorite one. It was my favorite one. She looked exquisite on the runway. It was really quite a gag. But I'm shocked that she was not in the top, and I think she even tweeted that they got her fellas. And you know what? They did. They really got my mother in that moment. She should have been in the top boots. Next up, and last but not least, we have Jimbo! And I love that Jimbo was straight up like, oh, I'm going to be in the chair, honey. I am not going to be up and doing all this choreography. And they got the girl out of the chair, and they said, no, sweetie, you're going to be dancing. And Jimbo did a great job in her way. I'm going to be honest, though. If there was one person who I really did see the disconnect between the choreography and the face, I would have to say it was Jimbo. And I was surprised that she wasn't in the bottom. Although I did love her runway. Loved her runway. It was so different for her. But I did think that maybe she was one of the weaker ones in the challenge. And I was surprised that she didn't get critiqued on that. You know, even if here's my thing. I thought they could have kept all 7 of them up there and they could have just called whatever. But I think to keep Jimbo and Alexis safe was very strange. I thought that they could have been commented on both parts. And like, I think Alexis was one of the best and I think Jimbo was one of the worst. And for them to be safe and not being critiqued on, I thought was very interesting. But overall, this Rusical was really, really fun. They did a fantastic job. Adam Shankman, props on the choreography. Leland, the songs were a banger. And I loved this one. I literally can't stop singing, Barbara, please. It's going to be stuck in my head. Padum Padum and Barbara, please. The songs of the summer. SOS. Alright, y'all, let's move on to the runway. So coming out, we have A Night of 1,000 Grace Joneses. And I thought it was a really good category. I liked some of the interpretations, but we have to talk about this. When we're doing Night of 1,000, do we want it to be an exact replica, or do we want it to be inspired by? There was a lot of inspired by that looked good. But where's the line? Sometimes we get clocked in it not being enough, and then sometimes you're being praised for taking it in the own direction. So I'm going to let y'all decide in the comments what do you think it should be. Walking out first, of course, is Kahana. Flawless as ever. The roses, from the headpiece to the gown, we saw a little leg. That red, that crease was just so carved out. She was giving me power on the runway. It was Grace Jones down, and I think that was one of my favorite ones for the night. We're gonna do Rack It, Pack It, and Sack It, and obviously Kahana, she has not missed on the runway once, and it's gonna be an absolute packet for me. Moving on, we have James. James was giving us that foxtail moment and giving us that headpiece. And I did agree with the judges. I did not think that this fit very well. And most importantly, I think the most important thing when it comes to fashion and, you know, making sure that everything looks right, especially on TV, is proportion. And I do think that James struggled with the proportion of this outfit. It was swallowing her up a little bit, and it was a hard challenge to follow. That outfit is very, very difficult. And I don't know if James made it herself, but props to whoever made it, because it is obviously a beautiful garment. But I think the proportion, especially just compared to everybody else on the stage, that's the thing. I do think that James did, unfortunately, across the board, do the worst this episode, and I do think that's ultimately why she did get the chop. Maybe they thought she was competition too. Maybe they just wanted to get rid of the girl. I don't fucking know. But I do feel bad for James, because I really was enjoying her this season. This just was a miss, and it just came at an inopportune time. So James, sorry, love ya. You will always be famous. Okay, next up is Candy Muse in her geometric shapes little moment. I love that she decided to chop it off and give us a little leg. I know Grace had the dress going on. I would have liked to have seen Candy in the dress. I really, really liked it, but again, something about the proportion for me was off. And it obviously was a really cool outfit. The mug was fucking flawless. The blush was crazy. The headpiece was cool with a little K on the top for Candy. But it just didn't do it for me in the way that I wanted it to. Something about the proportion was just off for me, and it wasn't my favorite of the night. Do I think it was really good in general? Yes. But I wasn't like gagging for it. I forgot to do James. James is a Sackett. Candy, it's unfortunately going to be a Sackett for me. It wasn't my favorite, but I thought that she made up for it in the challenge, and I thought that she definitely deserved to be in the top. Yeah, this outfit just wasn't something that I would wear and something that I would really want to wear. And something I thought Candy could have done something different, and we would have really gagged for it. But props to her for doing something out of the box. Okay, next up we have Jessica Wilde. This was really, really good. Again, taking it in that way of, are we going for exact replica or inspired by? I'm pretty sure that the Grace Jones reference was like a pink dress with no sleeves. Jessica put on those sleeves and she made it purple, but it was beautiful. The hood, the hair, the expression, the way she sold it on the runway was exquisite. And I loved seeing her stomp down the runway. That's probably my favorite outfit I think Jessica's worn all season. That and the acai berry made by Andrew Barrett Cox, of course. Or not made by, but, you know, conceptualized by Andrew Barrett Cox. But this was incredible. This was an absolute pack it. One of my favorites from the season, even, to be honest. It's something that I'll remember for sure. Next up, we have Lalaurie. I get what the judges were saying, that they wanted to see maybe a more iconic silhouette from Lala because she, you know, has the figure of Grace Jones, and they wanted to see her do something a little more powerful. But I loved this outfit so much. I thought Lala really tore in it. I thought that she really stomped the runway. I loved seeing her in that headpiece with that little dress. Her skin looks amazing. She looked so beautiful. And I personally really, really liked it. I was like, I would love to wear something like this. That was a packet for me. So Lala, I'm happy that you wore that, sis. I loved it. I loved it. Props to you, mama. Next up, we have my mother, Alexis Michelle. Now, this one is a recreation perfect. Everything about this, the details, the hat, every single thing about this outfit was flawless. And I genuinely was gagged that she was not in the top. For this outfit alone, let alone doing a fucking amazing job in the challenge, she should have been in the top for this outfit alone. It was... Are we seeing the right thing? Like she really tore. That outfit, the reference to the stage couldn't have been perfect. Couldn't have been more perfect. It was executed flawlessly. I love that. Complete packet for me. Again, one of my favorites of the season. And last, but certainly not least, we have Jimbo doing something a little bit different for Jimbo. Jimbo was like, honey, no breastplate for me. We're going to have this lovely strappy dress going on. And I think Grace Jones was wearing a hat. I think Jimbo made the hat out of hair and gave us a really cool silhouette. And I loved the juxtaposition of the proportion from the big hat to the tiny body with like barely any padding, no tits. It was very striking for Jimbo. And I really wish that they could talk about it. I really wish that they kept all 7 of them up there because I wanted to hear what they had to say about Jimbo doing something that is typically not what she does. So it is what it is. This is what the results were. And you know what? There's going to be a whole other week of drag that we can talk and bitch about. But coming out for the lip sync is Angeria. Honey, I love Angeria. She is, I think, one of the only girls who I have merch from, and it is sitting in my closet, and it gets worn around the house, even outside sometimes when I'm really, really feeling that I need to be representing Angeria Paris Van Michaels up in New York City. But I love the Southern Belle from ATL so much. I was so happy to see her on that stage. Her and Candy were obviously going to battle, and Candy had $30,000 on the line. Candy said, I'm putting on my good hair that I'm going to toss around. I'm putting nipples on my I'm putting pasties on my nipples so that the camera's not going to clock me. I'm not going to give them any excuse for them to not really give this to me. She came out in a skimpy little leotard and some boots. And I think somebody was like, oh, it's going to be the battle of the boots tonight. And boots? Was it boots? I don't really remember because you didn't really count for any of you New York fans out there. Speaking of New York. But Andrea did a great job, Candy did a great job, and Candy ended up winning the lip sync and the $30,000 that went along with it. I was so happy for Miss Muse. $30,000 as a tip for Miss RuPaul. Honey, no one could be happier. So good for you, Candy. You killed it this week. Although I didn't love your runway, it wasn't my favorite. Your challenge was phenomenal. And we'll be singing Barbara Please until Thy Kingdom Come. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Unpacked, and we'll see you next time. Bye.